Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been a very interesting hearing for a myriad of reasons. Mayor Bowser, thanks for being here with us. I do appreciate you taking the time today. It was said earlier that in 1973, Congress did pass the DC Home Rule Act. It is known on Capitol Hill, is known, quite frankly, through our entire constitutional republic, that any Congress cannot bind a future Congress. Just like at the state level, a legislature cannot bind a future legislature. That something that is enacted can be modified or undone in the future. I was able to have a conversation with a lot of the people from the Free DC organization. Some of them might still be in the room today. And that was the constant point that we came back to. That yes, under the law passed in 1973, your position was created, the DC City Council's position was created, but the ultimate authority for the federal district is still the United States Congress. And with the signature of the President of the United States. Would you agree with that assessment?
I would agree. And I would also add it's within the power of this Congress to advance the DC statehood bill. By simple majority, this Congress can, like it has done for every state in the union outside of the first 13, admit DC as a state.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because one of the reasons why I opposed the DC statehood bill is because the Constitution and the framers were actually quite clear that they did not want the federal district per se to be leveraged by a state or any state. And I think I had conversations with several residents of DC who were walking through the halls of Capitol Hill when then Speaker Pelosi was bringing that up. And I asked them two very important questions. If you want to have representation, why don't we allow that property to be re-annexed by the state of Maryland, which actually provided the land for the federal district to be created? Or would the citizens of the District of Columbia prefer not to be subject to federal income taxes as a result of them not having, quote unquote, representation? What's your thought on that?
I do think it's time to talk about what the district pays and what we get back. I do think it's time to have that conversation.
And that's a fair conversation to have. I got a couple questions for you. Let's get to the business of the matter. Since President Trump authorized the National Guard to be in D.C., how much has crime decreased in the District of Columbia?
I think it's important, and I've noticed that this has happened throughout this conversation, that you talk about the National Guard and you don't talk about federal law enforcement. And the federal surge consisted of federal law enforcement, which MPD works with all the time. I'm talking about the FBI, the DEA.
Mayor Bowser, I'm really not trying to disrespect you, but how much has crime decreased?
Oh, I mentioned already and let me look at my numbers, that the federal surge produced a 39% decrease in violent crime.
39% decrease in violent crime in the nation's capital.
Let me just add, that's on top of the 6% decrease that we were already experiencing.
So it seems that the president's surge was more effective than your own efforts, wouldn't you say?
It accelerated.
Last time I checked, 39% is way higher than 26%. But let me move on.
But the full statistic is a little different.
Chairman Mendelson, I didn't ask you a question.
I know,
Relax,
but the full statistic is a little different.
Actually, Chairman, let me ask you this question, because you butted in. Now let me ask you.
Sure.
What is the current status of the Metropolitan Police Department in terms of staffing? How many officers do you have on the beat?
I believe it's less than 3,100.
Okay. Is the MPD fully staffed?
In my view, no.
Question. Hold that point. Here's the question. So is a surge of federal law enforcement into the federal enclave, which the mayor has acknowledged is the primary responsibility of the federal government, isn't it simple logic to say that the president's surge has been helpful to safety and security in the District of Columbia, Chairman?
The additional law enforcement resources has been good. We work with those different agencies all the time. There was more of it, more of a good thing. National Guard is separate, ICE is separate.
Question for you, Chairman. You just said you said something I want to expound. You've been working with the federal government during this surge
and before
that was brought by President Trump and before. So you've been working with him through this entire time.
With the federal, like DEA, FBI, MPS, Park Police.
Mayor Bowser, you would concur that you guys have been working with the President of the United States throughout this entire period, correct?
Mr. Donalds, you know I work with every president.
I know, but I'm trying to establish a baseline.
In Trump 1 and in Trump 2.
And I thank you for that, Mayor
Yes,
Bowser.
that is our job. We all stand ready to work with. We're unique. The District of Columbia is unique in
Mayor
that we're
Bowser,
always going to have
Mayor
a
Bowser, I'm out of
relationship
time, so I got to reclaim.
Sorry,
I
sorry.
apologize.
Yep.
I agree, Mayor Bowser.
Yes.
The district is unique. The district is not like any other city in the United States. It is the federal enclave. I commend you and your team for working with the President of the United States to keep the district safe. I really do. I think it's important for a lot of people who are saying that they're upset with the President that your own mayor and your own chairman of the City Council has acknowledged that crime has gone down while working with the President. Let's work together. Let's give peace a chance. I yield back.
Mr. Chair.
At a House Oversight Committee hearing last week, Representative Byron Donalds, Republican Florida, pressed Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, D., on the issues of crime, public safety, and the city's long-debated political status. The exchange highlighted both the unique legal position of the nation's capital and the political divide over how to govern it. Donalds began by revisiting the history of the 1973 D.C. Home Rule Act, which created the position of mayor and the D.C. City Council but left ultimate authority in the hands of Congress. He stressed that under the Constitution, Congress cannot permanently bind a future Congress, meaning the authority over the federal district can always be modified or overturned. Bowser acknowledged that Congress still holds that authority but countered that the same Congress has the power to advance D.C. statehood with a simple majority vote, just as it had admitted other states after the original 13. Donalds pushed back, explaining why he opposed D.C. statehood. He argued that the framers of the Constitution were intentional in ensuring the federal district remained independent of state control, preventing any one state from leveraging the seat of the federal government for its own advantage. He recalled conversations with D.C. residents in the halls of Congress when then-Speaker Nancy Pelosi advanced the statehood proposal. He said he asked two questions: whether residents would accept reannexation to Maryland, the state that originally ceded the land for the capital, or whether they would prefer exemption from federal income taxes in exchange for not having congressional representation. Bowser responded that it was indeed time to have a serious discussion about what the district contributes in taxes compared to what it receives from the federal government. The focus of the hearing then turned sharply to crime in the city. Donalds pressed Bowser on whether violent crime had decreased since former President Donald Trump authorized the deployment of federal law enforcement officers in D.C. Bowser pointed out that it was not just the National Guard but a surge of FBI, DEA, and other federal agencies that worked alongside the Metropolitan Police Department, MPD. She reported that the surge brought about a 39% decrease in violent crime. She also stressed that this federal effort built on an already recorded 26% decrease achieved through local strategies. Donalds, however, seized on the numbers, noting that 39% was significantly higher than 26% and suggesting that the federal intervention was more effective than the city's own initiatives. The exchange grew tenser when D.C. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson stepped in to clarify statistics. He noted that MPD staffing levels were stretched thin, with fewer than 3,100 officers currently on duty, leaving the department far from fully staffed. Mendelson acknowledged that the addition of federal resources had been more of a good thing, since D.C. regularly collaborates with agencies such as the FBI, DEA, and Park Police. Donalds pushed further, pointing out that both Bowser and Mendelson had worked with Trump administration officials throughout the surge, regardless of politics. Bowser replied that she has worked with every president, and reiterated that D.C.'s situation is unique compared to other cities. She emphasized that local officials remain committed to collaboration with federal agencies, given the district's role as the federal enclave. As his time expired, Donalds closed by commending Bowser and Mendelson for cooperating with the federal government and underlining that the crime reduction was proof that such partnerships work. He reminded the committee that D.C. is unlike any other city in America because of its constitutional status and argued that continued cooperation between the city and federal authorities is necessary to keep the capital safe.